Oftentimes people in assisted living communities, they're there for 2 to 3 years. By the way, 7 out of 10, adults find themselves in an assisted living facility in the course of their life. So that's 70%. So again, going back to supply and demand, that's a staggering number of people. And the average age is 85 years old within those communities.
What's the difference between independent, assisted, memory care? Break down kind of the major food groups as it pertains to senior care, facilities and such.
That's really great. And I probably should have started with that. I apologize, because there really is a difference in these different care facilities that are available to those that we love and are dear to our hearts. And so when we look at assisted living facilities, this is and it's a heartfelt way of expressing this, but as I mentioned earlier, I have children. When I look at assisted living facilities, it very much, and the care we provide, it reminds me of when my kids were much younger, when they were, around 3 years old and they needed assistance. They could do things, but they need some assistance, maybe, getting in and out of the bathtub and maybe actually, bathing themselves, and they need assistance in the kitchen. They're not going to go in there and cook themselves a, delicious, nutritious dinner. They need assistance with that. They're definitely not at 3 years old going to be taking medications of any kind without assistance, right? And so when we look at the care that's involved in an assisted living community, now we're looking at just need some help. You're lucid, you're present, you're available. It's just maybe you need some help getting yourself from point A to B. Maybe you need some help making sure that you have all the nutrients, and maybe you have some medications that you need someone to administer to you to make sure that you are, operating on all cylinders really, really well. And so there's that level of care in an assisted living community. And then we can move into a memory care, community. And that is really not that much different, quite honestly. When you start getting, when you're behind the scenes, you can see, oh, wow, we could transition this to an assisted living and memory care facility simply by putting in the proper type of doors and, systems in place to ensure the safety and security, that people aren't going to be able to just simply exit and find themselves somewhere else. I've got stories. So anyhow, so when we're looking at memory care facilities, that's what that's looking like. And then we can go to advanced care beyond that. And that's really what most people are thinking about. Is they're thinking, I find most people hear assisted living facility and they're actually thinking about the nursing homes, which is what they were called way back when we were children. It's like, oh, that's a nursing home, and there are heart monitors and people in hospital style beds and receiving a acute high level of care. And so that is kind of the progression, though, of where someone may need to go. Oftentimes people in assisted living communities, they're there for 2 to 3 years. By the way, 7 out of 10, adults find themselves in an assisted living facility in the course of their life. So that's 70%. So again, going back to supply and demand, that's a staggering number of people. And the average age is 85 years old within those communities. So, we're looking at all of these elements in a very pragmatic way. And so hopefully that kind of clears the air when we're looking at level of care. I know I distracted myself for a moment. I'm like, what was that? Sometimes we'll have residents come in and maybe they had an accident and they just need a little more recovery space. I know I had a grandparent that was in that position and, was in an assisted living community for just a very brief period of time as they were going through a recovery process. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of other elements that can be added in. I do want to say this is not a senior living community where it's more apartment style and everybody has their vehicles and it's just simply, this is where I live, almost dormitory style. It is not that.